Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Judy Stevens. I'm the chair of Congregational Life. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. I draw your attention to the back of your order of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available in the YouTube service description box. After the service, refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to come and visit with one another. If you are new to us, please do check out our website, UUCMC.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. You get plenty of the views in here. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope. And I also have the distinct pleasure this morning of recognizing our Volunteer of the Month. Virginia Adair has been a UUCMC member since February 2021. She quickly made herself a presence at every level of congregational life, including leadership. Generous with her time and energy, she served on the council as secretary for 2 years and is now on the board as senior vice president and board representative to the endowment committee. For several years, she's been co-chair of a caring committee, a delegate to the UUA General Assembly, a member of the social justice and fundraising teams, and is a frequent greeter at services. She volunteers virtually whenever asked. Book sales, coffee hour, special events, Virginia's ready with helping hands. Outside these walls, in addition to her equestrian pursuits, Virginia volunteers at Planned Parenthood and is an active member of the League of Women Voters. Virginia, would you stand up? Thank you. So lastly, please put your devices on silent. Thank you.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano. The pronouns I use are he, him, his, and I thank you for joining us this morning. After the service at noon in the East Room, we begin a multi-session course that we offer a few times a year called Getting to Know UU (CMC). The first session will be in person for the first time since the pandemic. The next two online with a fourth time together in person at the end. The course is meant primarily for newcomers to this faith movement and to this congregation, but is always open to all. And it occurred to me that as the country seems to lose its balance and teeter toward a repudiation of so many of the values we hold dear, it might be a good time to learn or to be reminded of who it is we are. The Unitarian Universalist movement, this congregation, and this community are lifelines to solidarity, a reconnection with our values, and sources of strength, resistance, and care, especially in times of trouble. In case you weren't able to be present 2 Sundays ago, you may have missed your introduction to our new music director, Michael Rosen. Thank you, Michael, for gifting us. Yes? In the spirit of getting to know you, Michael gifted us with a piece by Hungarian composer Bela Bartok, whose family became Unitarian in the early days of the 20th century. Indeed, today a statue of Bartok stands in front of the Second Unitarian Church in Budapest. Sourcing our traditions, histories, connects us with others across the generations, others who questioned, who struggled, who were exiled, and yes, even who died in service to ideals of human dignity and liberty. Those same ideals propel us today. And every one of us, no exceptions, has a part in making us the us we value so highly. By your being with us in this beautiful Earth Room sanctuary or on the live stream or whenever and wherever you watch or rewatch this service, from among our YouTube library offerings, you are a part of something larger than yourself. The spirit of life that animates us all becomes palpable in the presence of others gathered with intention and purpose. We gather because we need one another, perhaps now more than in times before. Inclusion, our theme for the month of February, reminds us of what is important. The power of we, unleashed in this community, requires us all working together in service to be UUCMC in this off-balance world of ours. In the next weeks and months, I ask you to be thinking, how are you in service to this body? We do need you. Our call to worship, with worship understood in its original meaning of a shaping concern for all that is of worth, comes to us from the Reverend Tess Baumberger, minister of the First Universalist Church of Essex, Massachusetts. These are beatitudes or blessings for congregational leaders. See if you find yourself among these beatitudes. Blessed are those who arrive early and open the meeting house doors, that much may be opened to them. Blessed are the greeters and all who practice hospitality, that they find kind welcome wherever they go. Blessed are those who nurture and guide our children and youth, that they in turn be nurtured and guided. Blessed are those who plan and lead worship, that they deepen spiritually. Blessed are all who bring art and music to our congregational life, that they live in harmony and beauty. Blessed are the audiovisual specialists, that they find meaningful connections. Blessed are those who manage finances and pay the bills. They shall be called stewards of this congregation. Blessed are the coffee makers and food sharers, that they be nourished. Blessed are our elected congregational leaders, that they find and practice wisdom. Blessed are committee members, that their time and devotion be rewarded. Blessed are those who lead small groups, that their kindness be returned. Blessed are those who care for people in need, that their own needs be met. Blessed are those who work toward justice, that fairness may one day flourish. Blessed are those who care for our building, that they shall find good shelter. Blessed are those who come to services on Sunday and who contribute in myriad other ways, that they find fulfillment. It takes all of us to be the us we long to be. Come, let us worship together. Our congregational chalice is a cup with a stem and a foot, surrounded by overlapping circles of the traditions of Unitarianism and Universalism, from which this faith movement of seekers emerged in the 1960s, all connected in a tree of life. Each week, we enact a symbol created in the midst of wartime by World War II-era artist Hans Deutsch to enable the work of the Unitarian service committees giving safe passage out of Europe to those fleeing persecution by the Nazi regime. As a declaration that it is our gathering that makes this space special, holy, sacred, we enact this ritual of placing a flame in the chalice. A flame is a symbol of the spark inside each of us, a spark that needs others for its continual rekindling. If you've been anywhere in the building the last couple months and have seen the decorations for the holidays and the candelabra and the art on the walls and the Christmas tree and the things out in the lobby, Nick and Angie Morfogen are likely behind it all. We thank them for all of their work and for lighting our chalice this morning. Thank you so very much, Angie and Nick. And these are some chalice lighting words from Anastasia Birosh, whose pronouns are Ziers, a worship associate at Southwest Unitarian Universalist Church in Northern Ohio, near Cleveland. Z entitles their words Soul Fire. As we light this flame of hope, may our congregation become a kaleidoscope of souls and people. In the presence of this flame, in me, in you, in us, is an invitation to sit at the table. May we tend our soul fire through these challenging and trying times to open the hearts and minds of all who enter our doors. And now I invite us to rise in body and our spirit to sing our opening hymn. It's number 299 in our hymnals and on the screens. It reminds us that at the heart of receiving love is the giving of it. Make channels for the streams of love. Michael will play it through once for us before we sing. 299. must share if we would keep this gift, all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
Am I on? There I am. My name is Michelle Mackenzie Creech. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I serve this congregation as Director of Family Ministry. This week, Reverend Craig invited me to share about Unitarian Universalist religious education. And it was harder than I expected because the topic is something that I'm quite passionate about. I want to explain to you the nuances of the terms of religious education, RE for short, faith development, faith formation, family ministry, and adult religious education. You may hear all of these terms here at UUCMC, but what do they mean? The short answer is that they all represent the educational ministries of our congregation. Sometimes you'll hear the word lifespan in front of those terms. Unitarian Universalists understand that growth occurs over our lifetimes, from the moment we are born until the moment that we die. Faith formation is more than just learning facts. It's about growing, wondering, and becoming our best selves. I want to tell you about a Unitarian minister named William Ellery Channing, who in 1837 gave an address called The Great End in Religious Instruction, that argued that religious education should help us think for ourselves, love truth, be kind, and grow from the inside out. In the mid-1900s, Sophia Lyon-Fahs, a Unitarian educator, taught that learning should be exciting and full of curiosity, stories, science, and real-life experiences that help us explore big questions. She didn't want us to memorize facts. She wanted us to experience and embody the lessons that we were hoping to learn and grow from. Educator Maria Harris reminded us that we don't just learn from what is taught in the lessons, but also from how we treat each other, and even by what's left out, by what we don't teach. And then Connie Goodbread, a religious educator who now works for the UUA, took it a step farther and said that the whole congregation is a classroom. What we do, how we care for one another, and the way we live our values teaches just as much as any lesson. And then there is credentialed religious educator Kathy Smith. Kathy is one of my colleagues who serves as the Director of Family Ministry at the Unitarian Church of Baton Rouge. And she wrote a reflection titled, "Faith Formation is All We Do," that comes from all of the works, really, that I've talked about, but really focuses on this idea that the congregation is the curriculum. And I'm going to read you a portion of her reflection because, honestly, her words are almost exactly what I would say. I've only changed the word church to congregation to reflect our language here at UUCMC. Here's what Smith says. Faith formation is learning who you are, figuring out how you want to live, and filling the toolbox you will need along the way. The toolbox should be held with practices that keep you grounded, a community that supports you and encourages you, connections that sustain and challenge you, and the resources that you need to keep growing and learning. Not resources just for our bodies or our emotions or our brains, but resources for our spirits. The part of this that makes us love, laugh, cry, pray, sing, wonder, dance, and take care of each other. The part that seeks out answers to big questions like, what do I hold sacred? Where do I feel the presence of something bigger than me? Where do I turn when things are too big for me to handle by myself? And how do I make meaning of life? Faith formation is learning the ways our spirit interacts with the world, both the world that we see, hear, touch, and the mysteries that we cannot explain with our physical senses. And it is creating an ever-deepening ways for our spirits to be healthy and to grow. Unitarian Universalist faith formation is becoming able to articulate what our faith teaches and what it doesn't teach. It's an ever-deepening understanding of what our faith calls us to: compassion, justice, love, liberation for all, starting with the most marginalized, and continually awakening and reawakening our responses to that call. Still Kathy's words, but also my own. I'm in the business of raising lifelong Unitarian Universalists. It's my life's calling. I want families and children to know the ways to be Unitarian Universalists at home, to teach their children, and to learn with their children about how our faith shapes their lives. I want every child, teen, and adult in this congregation, all of you, to know that what Unitarian Universalism is and how the values influence the way you walk in this world is what we're all about. I want you to know enough of Unitarian Universalism that you choose to be a part of this faith for a lifetime. And that if you choose to leave, that you have the foundation for finding what you seek wherever you go. I believe we have a life-changing, life-saving, life-giving faith. Not perfect by any means, but a faith that teaches, preaches, and lives as if a better world is possible. End quote. Faith formation is everything we do, and the congregation, as they say, is our curriculum. I want to leave you with a couple of concrete ways that you can enter into this process of growth here at UUCMC. Adults, join the Adult Religious Education Committee on Valentine's Day on Zoom for an evening of poetry sharing with the theme of siding with love. Side with Love is our social justice advocacy arm of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Come out for a conversation where we're going to reimagine WAGO, a program. We are getting older. It was a popular program, and we're reimagining it. And it was a popular program used to cover topics for aging adults who are thinking about those specific things at those points in their lives. Participate in our UU Common Read, which is also the Unitarian Universalist Association Common Read right now. Authentic Selves, Trans and Non-Binary People and Their Families. And join for the discussion on Zoom. We have books on loan at our 8th Principal cart in the hallway, or you can purchase a copy for yourself, and don't think you'll be sorry. Or join us for an all-ages spaghetti dinner in March, where you can come and make a personal or family chalice so that you can bring home and introduce Unitarian Universalist rituals in your own home, and we'll enjoy a meal together. And lastly, for our children and youth, our Rainbow Connections, where our youngest children, preschool and kindergarten, explore and build friendships. They start learning about our values through hands-on activities celebrating creativity and kindness. In World Blessings, we're exploring different cultures and religions while cooking dishes from many of those cultures. I hope you've had the opportunity to try some of their offerings that sometimes make it to coffee hour, or smell the delicious aroma coming down the hall, or maybe not so smell of cabbage. But we have to make sacrifices to grow, people. So the cabbage had to be on the menu that day. And our youth, we're planning a trip to Boston to learn about our UU heritage, where they'll stand at the pulpit that Channing spoke from, where they'll experience the Unitarian Universalist Association, where they'll visit many historical sites that they've learned about in their religious education program. The best way to get involved, especially as adults, is to teach or support our children and youth in their program. Every week they meet, and every week we have opportunities for you to be with them and to learn what they're learning and to be inspired by them. I think you could ask any of our RE volunteers that they learn something every single week from the curriculum, but mostly from the children and youth. I want you to know that these programs impact our lives and our children in such profound ways, and I want you to put May 18th on your calendar for our youth service, where our youth will come and tell you about these new values that we're learning, where they'll tell you about their experience in Boston and what this place has meant to them. I want you to join us on this transformational journey. And if you ever have any questions about how to get involved, if you ever want to help, for a program, I'm losing my microphone, please come talk to me, because I love talking about religious education and faith development and the ways that we grow together. Now let's send our children and youth off to their faith formation programs with a blessing. Go now in peace.
Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to social justice partners, our social justice partners, through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies collected each month. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of February is Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, or BLUE. This organization provides information, resources, and support for Black UUs, and works to expand their role and visibility within our faith. The Blue Organizing Collective was formed as a movement for Black Lives Convening in Cleveland, Ohio in July 2015. In the past 9 years, Blue has become an impactful organization that creates life-giving and life-saving opportunities for spiritual community and Black-centered organizing. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, send your offering by mail, or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to Black Lives of UU. Please give generously.
Our Roots and Wings drum choir led by Skip Lieb. It's good to have you back with us this year. In a Washington Post article written right before the election, political columnist Perry Bacon Jr. had 5 suggestions for what to do as an antidote to doom scrolling about the impending possibility of right-wing gains at the polls. Right after his number 1 hint encouraging people to join a union at their workplace, number 2 on Bacon's list was join a Unitarian Universalist congregation. His reason? Because not only would you have access to people doing concrete things to make a difference, but you could experience the relief of being in a religious space where there was open discussion of the shared values and ideals seemingly abandoned by the right. including the support of immigrants and of LGBTQ+ people. I want to thank one of you for sharing that article with me, for I had already canceled my Washington Post subscription. At the heart of Bacon's suggestion is something very much in line with our congregational theme for February. For while inclusion is at the center of what we do as a Unitarian Universalist congregation, it is not an easy thing. It is an incredibly difficult one. Harnessing the power of we is an ongoing struggle. For it is easy to draw lines with us on one side and them on the other, and tempting as well. For to be insulated against ever having to question who we are can feel safe, can feel good. And how much easier than inclusion it always is to decree what the official story is to be. How much easier than inclusion it is to prohibit the teaching of truths. How much easier than inclusion it is to divide people against one another with epithetical language. How much easier than inclusion to hearken back to some golden age that was only golden to those already in power at the time. Nothing we see in our politics today is new. It is tiresomely, predictably human because it's so easy. Our denomination and its precursor bodies of Unitarian and Universalist churches have been wrestling with this struggle since their inception. After all, the terms Unitarian and Universalist were both epithets at their inception, terms of opprobrium to tar fringe elements of Christian orthodoxy, terms only gradually assumed by the adherents themselves in time. It's no surprise that a collection of castaways from the seats of religious power would struggle themselves with how to handle power once taken into their own diverse hands. These past few years in Unitarian Universalism, in service to greater inclusion, we've disrupted the usual ways of doing business. We have prioritized collaboration and power sharing. We've focused on process and appreciation. We've validated diverse views and alternative methods of self-expression. We've acknowledged that conflict and fallibility are inevitable. And we've embraced a sense of realism about the fact that taking more views into account takes time. That both and thinking doesn't happen on a fast track. And that centering voices not typically heard from meant that the usual voices would have to be de-centered. It seemed clear that what was needed were many, many rounds of listening. Listening, actually hearing from all of the we. What was needed was truly getting to know us. This project is deeply theological, for in order better to appreciate the contours of that which is greater than any one of us, we need to hear from as many voices as possible. We need to nurture and protect those parts of the whole that are vulnerable to attack or neglect or exploitation, human and not human alike, as well as environmental aspects of creation. And we need to depend upon covenantal promises to one another, to guide our interactions. A covenant holds us to a framework in which we give one another space to make mistakes and to repair those breaches by being drawn back into covenant through reconciliation. Being a congregational community takes practice. 3 practices in particular will help us embrace the ever greater inclusivity in the us we long to get to know. Only then can the full potential of the power of we be unleashed. Now, the first practice, it involves honoring multiple truths. Now, this is different from the alternative facts we hear about in the news. The multiple truths referred to here are our individual viewpoints. While I may have every intention to phrase my perception as I statements, my spoken truth may well not coincide with yours. And it is possible that what I say can cause harm to another despite my good intentions. This is particularly likely when someone with white privilege, such as I, so easily can confuse what I perceive as common experience with what turns out to be merely my limited viewpoint. When I'm surrounded by the like-minded and the like-privileged, I can be validated in feeling that I embody a universal perspective. But not all people have the luxury of assuming others' good intentions. And good intentions do not prevent privilege from harming others. But putting myself in situations where I am but one viewpoint among many allows me to become invested in the truths of others and to believe people when they tell me what they are experiencing. The second practice is always to consider social location. After all, each of us holds multiple identities with respect to race, class, ability, gender, sexuality, age, role, and more. As we navigate through our congregational community, our interactions place us in differing degrees of power and privilege. Sometimes we are marginalized, and sometimes we recognize a mix, where we have privilege on one level but are disempowered on another. The problem is that many of us in this congregation are in a position of privilege and power a lot of the time, and it is part of our privilege not to be aware of it. In order to be invested in understanding the personal truths of those different from us, we need to be proactive in surfacing hidden power dynamics and use our privilege to create more space for those at the margins, even those whose votes at the polls are incomprehensible to us. And yes, that means it's not always going to be about you or me. At the heart of covenant is sacrifice, in that to further beloved community, to dismantle white supremacy characteristics, to welcome multiple truths, we may have to forego some of the privilege that could otherwise be ours to wield. So third practice, to advance the power of we need to practice care. Care for ourselves and for those with whom we engage. If we're really going to hear from the we at the heart of what makes us a spiritually engaged community, we're going to hear some things that we don't like, some things that will surprise us, some things that will discomfort us. The power of we means that it really isn't about me or you or even of immediately discernible benefit to you or me. It's about ever-growing and changing us. And that is an ongoing project of love that requires a lot of care. And the beauty is that enacting the power of we leads us to places each one of us separately, by definition, couldn't have imagined we'd go. So 3 practices: honor multiple truths, consider social location, and practice care. Each becomes more and more countercultural when those in power would stifle a multiplicity of truthful voices, refuse to acknowledge the power dynamics in social location, and remove funding from programs that caringly tend to the souls of all people in their diverse specificity. If you, like I, these past 2 weeks have been sickened by the relentless targeting of already marginalized people, if you have become enraged at the attempt to dismantle systems of accountability, if you have experienced despair at the wanton disregard for anything not in lockstep with a fragile despotism, I share some words of advice from sociologist Jennifer Walter, about what is happening in our country right now and maybe what to do about it, in part. She writes this: "Our overwhelm is the goal. Using chaos and crisis to push through radical changes while people are too disoriented to effectively resist. A strategic exploitation of cognitive limits. For when humans face information overload, they become passive and disengaged. When multiple major policies compete for attention simultaneously, it fragments public discourse, which can't keep up with the pace, leading to weakened democratic oversight and reduced public engagement. So, Walter advises, first, set boundaries. Pick a key issue you deeply care about and focus your attention there. Impact comes from sustained focus, not scattered awareness. Set boundaries, focus. 2, find trusted analysts who do the heavy lifting of synthesis. Look for analysts explaining patterns, not just events. 3, always remember, feeling overwhelmed is the point. Even recognize this, you regain some power. Take breaks. Breathe. Process. This is a marathon. 4, practice going slow. Wait 48 hours before reacting to new policies. The urgent clouds the important. Initial reporting often misses context. And finally, Walter urges something like what Perry Bacon suggested at the top of my remarks: build community. Share the cognitive load. Network intelligence beats individual overload. Together, in community, we can harness the power of we. We can honor multiple truths, consider our social occasions, practice care. We can get to know us, an us that is ever expanding and strengthening because of its diversity, not in spite of it. In weeks to come, I will invite our social justice champions to the pulpit to focus our attention in specific ways we can be of service to our values. Meantime, there's an entire section of every week's e-blast with several ways you can be a part of solutions, part of joining a powerful we that thrives on multiplicity, not uniformity. And I end with words this past week from Sophia Betancourt, the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. And she wrote, "Unitarian Universalists are people with diverse identities, diverse stories, diverse experiences, yet we are personally, theologically, and covenantally bound together by the expansive love that has always been the animating center of our faith. Far more powerful than any faction, leader, nation, or creed, it is this fierce love that compels our deepest loyalty and our most courageous action. And it is this love that moves through and between us, enabling us to nurture wisdom, guidance, courage, and grounding in ourselves and in one another." Let it be said again and again from this pulpit, in this community, each of you, every single one, is valuable and precious. Each of you is enough. Each of you is loved for who you are in all of your particularities. To harness the power of we to be an us worth knowing, we need to bring those particularities to the table, not pretending we're all the same or relating to one another solely at our places of similarity, but precisely to be known deeply for the specific personal ways that each of us brings the universe into being. The project of UCMC is not to gradually hone away aspects of ourselves that don't fit in, but rather to insist upon our specificities as part of the whole that makes us us. Getting to know Unitarian Universalism, getting to know UUCMC, Getting to know us is to be expanded, to be enriched, to discover new reasons that each of us has to be loved. May it be so. I invite us to begin a time of prayer and meditation with a piece written by Mary Carr Moore, someone I had never heard of before this week, brought to us by our new music director, Michael. A primarily West Coast composer, conductor, and music educator, Mary Carr Moore, her name. She was born in 1873 to Sarah Pratt Carr, who became one of the first 100 women to be ordained as a Unitarian minister. This is an art song by Mary Carr Moore, published in 1916, entitled Dawn. I invite us to remain seated in a time of prayer and sing together 101 in our hymnal and on the screen. Abide with me. The hymn asks for company and comfort in times of trouble. Apparently written as a prayer to God or the Spirit of life, I think it speaks to us as a congregational body as well. For if we stay together in solidarity, abiding one with another, we can relinquish some of our fears and bitterness, process some of our grief, and we can harness the power of we in this time of madness in our country and in the world. I invite you to sing with me, Abide with Me. And now I do invite us to rise in body and spirit as we ready ourselves to go back out into this world that needs our values so very much. Holly Neer wrote this hymn in the wake of the assassination of San Francisco City Board of Supervisors member Harvey Milk, one of the first prominent out and proud gay men in American governmental leadership. You may join hands if you feel like it. You can get together because together we are strong. It's number 170 in the hymnals and on the stream. We are a gentle, angry people.
Gentle
a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. Great to have Roots and Wings with us. Thanks again, Skip Lee, for being here with us. All the drummers. They will send us out on our ways, but first, our closing words of benediction. They come from Chad Snyder, a lay minister and coming-of-age leader at Merging Waters Unitarian Universalist congregation in New Brighton, Minnesota. Chad's words remind us that the goal of true inclusion is a widespread sense of belonging. To belong is to be longing, longing for a space to be held, a space that will hold friend, stranger, neighbor, other. Longing for silences broken by songs of the silenced. Longing for time that does not stretch, but encircles. To belong is to be longing for wholeness, wholeness of the beloved, wholeness of all who belong and are longing. Let us go in peace to bless this troubled world of ours.